Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm checking out the XF90. Now this is a budget brushless micro, 90 in the name, being the size of the frame. It's quite a thin frame and it's got this camouflage colour on there. It reminds me of the JJ Pro series, but it's not branded JJ Pro. But like I say, it is cheaper than the likes of the models that have an on-screen display. So this one doesn't have an on-screen display, but that is fine because it has a voltage buzzer on the back there and two LEDs as well, which are connected to the DIN. So what is good about this model is that it has got a power switching camera and VTX combo. So we have got the LED on the back there and that can be switched between 25 milliwatt, so we have a button on there and it's a very long press and you get like 3 lines across the screen. So the bottom line is 25 milliwatt, the middle is 50 milliwatt and the top one is 200 milliwatt. And then we have got these unusual choice for motors. These are the 0806 7500 kV motor, and let's have a look at the brand. It just says BBB there on the side, so I've not heard of those before. We have got the 1.9 inch 5-blade propellers on there and you're given a spare set of those. Now, as this is sort of aimed at the budget side of things, we have a variety of different receivers. This is the Fly Sky version, so it will work with the Turnigy Evolution because this is the A8S receiver, but you can also get it with a FR Sky receiver and also a radio link receiver, but no DSM2 DSMX receiver. You can get it though without a receiver, so if you want to put your own receiver on there. We have got 6 amp BL Halley S ESCs. Now it says in the instructions that it doesn't support D-Shot, but in Betaflight I've gone in there and it's set up for D-Shot 150, so maybe that's a firmware thing that it now supports that. We have got a Pico BLX flight controller, which is a pretty renowned flight controller, but like I say, no on-screen display there. It weighs 67 grams without a battery, and with the battery it weighs 88 grams. So the battery, it is a 450 milliamp 2-cell 35C with a JST connector, but that's fine because we don't have an on-screen display sucking up all of the current, so that should be fine. I'm not too keen on how they have mounted this receiver. I think there's room underneath there for it to go in there, so they've just put some sort of sticky back foam on there and just bolted it to the side. It comes very close to the propellers here. And I've just noticed as well, one of the little nylon screws there, it's not quite seating properly. I don't think it's going to come out, but I'm going to have to take the top off to get access to that screw there. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain. So the camera, it is a 48 channel, and I think I already mentioned that it switches. So it's going to be sort of like a 2-second press to get to the different bands, and then short press to go through the 8 different channels of that band. Now, I did change a couple of things in Betaflight. It was not set to on a switch, so I have changed that. And I changed around a couple of the auxiliaries as well. So this is the transmitter I'm using. It's the Fly Sky i6X, and it's a 10-channel transmitter there. So I think that I switched around the auxiliary. So originally it was set for auxiliary 1 to have the modes on it, so I switched that around to auxiliary 2 because my aux 1 is arming, and then it's set up to have acro and then horizon and angle. I've changed that slightly so it's acro and air because these little models, they don't like to descend very fast, but the air mode gives it a slower descent and you get less wobbles and things. Just had stock Betaflight PIDs on there, so I have changed the PIDs and I'll have to see how it flies with that. And like I say, aux 1 I've set up to ARM, it was set up to just ARM on the rudder, and then I have also set up a aux 3 for a beeper as well. I also changed the tolerances for the beeper going off on the low voltage, so it was just set up for stock Betaflight, which I think is 3.4 volts for the beeper to go off. But with these tiny batteries, you tend to find that the sag sends them off quicker, so I have changed it to 3.3 volts as well. That's something else that I have done. And yeah, so it's Pico BLX if you want to upgrade it to the latest version. And you are also given a charger in the package as well. So it's just a little balanced charger there off the USB. Of course, with this being a JST connector, I can just use my ISDT charger there, and you've got a rubber band. Now, out of the box as well, the camera is loose. It's got this little tiny 3D printed mount here. It's pretty nice, actually. And then we have these screws in here, and it's loose to fit in the box that it comes in. So it comes in just like a phone box there, nothing fancy. And then I had to tilt the camera up and then tighten it up. And also this aerial here, it should be fine going through here. Of course, we don't have any protector on the antenna. This model is not trying to compete with the higher end models such as the Eachine Lizard. It is a budget model, like I say. And you're given some instructions as well, so it just tells you all of the specifications here and what is included, but nothing in there I don't think that I haven't already mentioned, other than its output is NTSC on the camera. That is fine. Let's see if there's anything else here that I need to mention. No, I think that is everything. So to bind it, you have to plug the battery in, and this is an absolute pain to do. So you've got a little bind button on the side there, and you have to wedge the battery in, and then that'll go into bind mode, and then you have to press the bind button on the FlySky transmitter and then turn it on. And if you try and do it in any other sequence, like turn the transmitter on first, it won't bind. So that's something that can easily catch you out. Anyways, I think that is everything with this model, so let's go and take it for a fly and see how it performs. So one thing I forgot to mention is that motor stop is turned on out of the box. I have also turned that off, so when I arm it, it will have the motor spinning up. So I have put it in angle mode here, and just listen at those motors going. They scream, but it doesn't seem to have like a crazy amount of power. Let me show you a punch. Yeah, so definitely down on the power with those motors, but it's not like it's lacking power. I'd say it's got more power than a brushed model. Sort of like a whistle coming from those motors. Very odd sound. I don't know if that's going to come through on the camera. But yeah, not a huge amount of power, this one. I think it'd be pretty good though if you're fairly new to the hobby. Right, where's my switch? Let's see how it deals with aqua mode. I went too quick there. So I did change the super rate to 0.8. It was just all stock out of the box. That seems pretty snappy, that does. I have to give it more throttle though to do these maneuvers. But it means that when I flip on the throttle, it just doesn't disappear. Can hear the beeper going off at the top of the throttle. That's just the sag of the battery there. I did put it on a really low. I think it was 3.3 I set it at. Maybe it could have gone to 3.2. Can you hear that there? That was the... I disarmed there, by the way. It didn't cut out. I flipped the wrong switch because I'm using the FlySky transmitter. But yeah, the voltage buzzer was going off there. So let's stick it back in angle mode and then take off again and see if the battery has actually gone. I think it was just under load maybe. Oh, there you go. It's going off again, so I don't think we're going to get a huge flight time with this one. And it seems like that it is going to brown out if you let the battery get too low, which is what I've done there. That's what that flip was there, but it's bent the camera back as well. Yeah, not a fantastic flight time. The battery was fully charged and it's not puffed, so yeah, maybe looking at just a couple of minutes flight time for this one. Let's go and do some FPV with it. So here is some FPV footage taken from the DVR of my Fatshark Dominator HD3s. Now I actually got this one flying pretty nice. I spent probably about half an hour tuning it. The only problem with tuning this model is because it doesn't have an on-screen display, you have to connect to the computer every time you want to adjust the PIDs, so yeah, that took longer than normal, but I'll overlay the PIDs here if you bought this model, and that might help you to get started. So yeah, I think with this one, it doesn't have huge amounts of power, and the flight time is pretty short, so it was just under a 3-minute flight time. And I think that's down to the motors that they have used. I think it would have been better off to use like an 1104 motor, something like that. The reason I say that is, like I say, it doesn't have crazy amounts of power, and when I landed, the battery was really warm as well, which suggests that it is drawing a fair amount of current. But if it doesn't have a huge amount of power, then I would say there was a bit of inefficiency going on there. But yeah, I mean, it's not a scary model, and it had enough power to still do acro and fly around. It's just that I think there's a lot of competition in the brushless micro category. Alright, you have to pay a little bit more, but sometimes it benefits you to spend a little bit more. But if you can't afford the higher end models, then you know, this one, it does what it says on the tin. It flies, and yeah, it's just not got as much performance as some of the other more expensive options out there. I really like the camera quality, and I like that it's got a cloverleaf antenna, but it's not protected. I did crash it a fair amount though, and the antenna didn't get bent, so yeah, that wasn't too bad actually, but I am flying on grass here. I think if you crashed it into concrete, then it would be a different story. Anyway, I am flying this one until the battery dies, so if you wish to get one, I'll put a link in the description. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.